TFH-GOLD connector installation on TFH-GOLD cable. Components required for TFH-GOLD connector installation include an ideal crimp tool with a model 30-593 die, wire strippers, high-quality side cutters, PermAlert supplied sanding tool, utility knife, electrical tape, and fine grit emery cloth. Begin by removing 2.5 inches of the protective overbraid. Now we're going to slide back the protective overbraid approximately 6 inches and tape it into place. Next is the sanding step. Using the PermAlert supplied sanding tool, flare the end of the shield and slide the sanding tool between the shield and the spacer material. Using a fine grit emery cloth starting about 1 inch back from the end of the shield, for the next 1.5 inches, we are going to sand around the circumference of the cable, trying to get every strand. Do not oversand because the shield wires are very thin. We don't want to sand through them. Now we will remove 1.25 inch of the shield wire. Using a standard wire stripper, using the 10 gauge strip, we are going to reduce the diameter of the spacer material. The reduction process will stretch the spacer material past the end of the cable. Take it in 1/2 inch increments and make sure that the center conductor is straight. If not, we could cut all the way down to the center conductor, which means we will have to start the process again. Find the end of the center conductor and then remove the excess spacer material that was stretched past the end. Using a standard strip tool, we are going to strip the last 3/4 inch using the 14 gauge strip all the way down to the center conductor, which includes the thin film just over the center conductor. Using your side cutters, clean up any strands of the spacer material that might be left over after the strip. Next, we are going to apply the UHF Gold plug. Slide on the wire ferrule, flared end first, until it touches the spacer material. Now, pull the shield wire back towards the end of the cable, and we're going to put on the coupling ring, making sure that we put on the shoulder first. Then we're going to slide on our outer crimp ferrule, and that will go over the shield wire. Grip the cable about 1/4 inch past the end of the shield and flare the shield wire using your center conductor. Slide on your plug body. It will stop when it hits the flared end of the center conductor wire ferrule. If you notice that the shield wire doesn't hit the back shoulder of the plug body, then we're going to have to remove a little bit more of the spacer material. Remove the center conductor wire ferrule and remove approximately another 1/8 inch of the spacer material. Sometimes there will be some leftover spacer material. Use your side cutters again to trim the excess spacer material off. Now we'll reinstall our wire ferrule, flared end first, and slide on our plug body. If you notice that we have too much shield wire sticking past the shoulder, we can remove the plug body and trim the excess shield off. The shield wire should just touch the back shoulder of the plug. Slide the outer crimp ferrule up to the plug body and then clamp your crimp tool onto the cable just behind the outer crimp ferrule using the second largest opening on the die, being careful not to pinch the cable. From the underside of the crimp tool, pull on the cable until the bottom of the outer crimp ferrule is touching the crimp tool and the plug body is just touching the top of the outer crimp tool. Grip the crimp tool with your fingers and using your thumbs push the plug body into the outer crimp ferrule until the back shoulder of the plug body touches the top of the outer crimp ferrule. Using the .255 opening on the crimp tool, crimp the outer crimp ferrule at the shoulder of the plug body. Using the .10 opening on the crimp tool, crimp the center pin on the smaller diameter part of the pin as close as possible to the transition to the larger diameter part of the pin. Do not trim the center conductor flush with the end of the pin. Trim the center conductor approximately 1/8 inch from the end of the center pin. Next, slide up your coupling ring and thread it onto the plug body. Loosen or remove the electrical tape and slide the protective overbraid as close to the plug as possible and then take back into place. And finally, after the connectors are installed on both ends of the cable, run the continuity and installation test as specified in the PermAlert installation manual.